When she was complaining about all this during our last visit, I reminded her that all these things are consequences of her own actions, and she blew up at me. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, Am I the A-hole for moving after winning full custody of my sons? And big shout out to Joseph for sending me this story. And guys, this crazy and unfortunate story, is about a guy, father of 2 sons, and lo and behold, one day, the police show up at his house to arrest his wife. Why, you may ask? They arrested her for credit card fraud. They arrested her. She was convicted and sent to prison for a short period of time for stealing credit cards, people's information, and racking up the credit cards, all that. And as you can imagine, the guy divorced her, and the court saw fit to award him full custody. So when she got out, she had certain visitation rights. That's it. Supervised, I think. And to no surprise, she's having a meltdown over that. She's blaming him for a lot that will happen, even though she's the one that did all these things. And there's a lot more details behind it, which you'll see as I get into the story. And eventually, as this story goes on, this guy gets a great job offer out of state that will really change his financial situation, because he is the sole breadwinner now for these boys. And he takes it. And she's having a meltdown and hating on him because he's moved out of state with the boys and the court's allowed him to do so. And she says he's punishing her and all this ridiculous stuff, even though she's the one that caused this whole big mess. Right? And that'd be a good one to do to cover the whole accountability thing and just many, many things related to that. That'd be a very entertaining one to share real life, what I say all the time. So, jumping into it, he says here, my wife and I got a divorce last year. Our relationship failed after she was charged with felony credit card fraud and ended up pleading guilty to a lesser charge. She had been a stay-at-home mom to our sons, who are both 5 and 3, and had taken credit cards out in my mom's name to pay for God knows what. I've heard about people not liking their mother-in-law, but good Lord. She shattered my trust. I work full-time and make a decent living, but nothing extravagant. I had no clue what my wife was doing until the cops showed up at my door with a warrant and took my wife away in cuffs and took 2 laptops as evidence. When I got the full story, I filed for divorce immediately. Well, good for this guy, because he's allowed to do that, and she deserves it. I mean, it's bad enough if she was racking up the credit cards buying bullshit, but the fact that she was stealing his mother's personal information and using it to get credit cards and do all that, I mean, she's lucky that she gets minimal time, as you're going to see here in a second here, but she's got problems. And again, imagine the impact this is going to have on the family, because people talk and word's going to spread, and you're going to see the kind of impact it has on him and his kids. Aside from being a criminal, she was a good mom. Let's not get carried away here, sir. She tried to justify what she did by saying she was just doing what was best for our kids, which I felt was total BS, given that she never mentioned wanting for anything, and any time she asked to spend on something, I almost always said yes. It is BS. I hired a good lawyer and asked for full custody of my kids. My ex begged me not to do that, saying she needed her kids. But she was still looking up to a year in jail, and nothing her lawyer said could sway the judge to grant her anything more than supervised visitation. She ended up doing 90 days in jail, paying some fines and restitution, but I've allowed her to see our sons almost every time she's asked. So, even though he's got full custody and a lot of power, which, by the way, says a lot that the courts awarded him this, he's been pretty generous with her, and you're going to see he is exceptionally generous later on, but still, he's the bad guy in her eyes, not her. The last year has been total hell, but we made it work. A few months ago, I was offered a much more lucrative position a few states away. I talked with my attorney about what it would mean if I moved and what the process was. He said that since I have full custody, I have to file a petition with the court to move. So I told my wife what I wanted to do, and she exploded. She claimed I was stealing her kids, and that she made a lot of strides to get herself to a better place, and that she would fight me tooth and nail for her kids. Well, maybe she should have thought about that when she was stealing people's personal information and committing illegal activities. She wasn't thinking about her kids then, was she? No. He now has sole custody of the kids. He now has the opportunity to get a much better paying job to provide a better life for them. Those kids are number one because he's the father. Taking care of those kids is number one priority. And not to mention the impact this has had in the family. It's probably a good idea to get those kids away from there. She ruined her chances. And if the courts say it's okay, well, what does that say? Well, I filed a petition and I got the go ahead from the courts. There you go. And I accepted the job. When the judge gave me his ruling, my wife burst into tears and began sobbing. It was heartbreaking. I know in my head that I'm doing the right thing for my sons. They're young enough that a move like this won't be too traumatic, but I also feel that their lives have already been completely overturned and I'm just adding more to that. He's in a tough position, but at the end of the day, who's responsible for all this turmoil? The ex-wife. Let's not forget this. He's on his own now. He lost his wife. She shattered his trust, amongst many other things. Now he is solely responsible. Those kids can't be with her. You think she can be trusted to raise those kids? As for my wife, she's a wreck. She's been begging me to reconsider the move, trying everything from guilt trips, manipulation, and bargaining. It's like she's going through the stages of grief. But from my point of view, she did this to herself. She lied and broke the law. I have very little sympathy for her. I know at some point she'll probably try to file for partial custody, and I'm prepared for that. For now, I'm just trying to do what's best for me and my sons. Does this make me an a-hole? No, not at all. She's the a-hole. She's the one that did what she did. And you know what? Maybe she has a genuine problem. I'm in a rare form today, in a good mood, and say maybe she does have a genuine problem. But even then, it does not excuse her actions. And therefore, she's going to need a lot of work on herself, probably some going to certain meetings and things like that, and repairing her life and turning things around. But even then, the damage she's caused on multiple fronts is done. But this guy's doing what's best for his kid. He's not the a-hole here. He's not doing it out of malice or to get even with her. He's doing it for the boys. He says, thank you to everyone who commented, even the one who called me a heartless a-hole for taking my sons away from their mother. This post is giving me a lot of perspective, and I appreciate that. A couple things I wanted to clear up that I keep getting asked about that I wasn't able to include in my original post. Number one, the area my sons and I live in is a smaller community. Not everyone knows everyone, small but close. The crime my ex committed was news here. It was in the paper. People know about it. I get weird looks when I'm out in public. People have stopped inviting my sons to birthday parties. I don't want my sons to be bullied and teased in school about their mother being a criminal. There you go. Kids are being excluded. They're getting weird looks, gossiping. I'm from a small town. I know how this shit works. So him picking up and leaving to a new place, new start is not a bad idea. Number two, I'm not going to permanently alienate my sons from their mother. I'll make sure they're able to talk to her and FaceTime with her whenever they want. I will be the one that makes them drive back in order for them to see her until she's able to make arrangements to allow her to do so. I will continue to work with my ex to make sure she's included in things like birthdays and holidays. Okay, he's being pretty reasonable here. Number three, I know my sons and I will all need therapy from this. There is not good mental health help available where my previous job is. My new job offers on-site childcare, and I'll have access to counseling and therapy for myself and my sons that we would not have access to without moving. The schools near my new job are head and shoulders above the ones near my previous job. So, his life and the son's life are vastly better with this new job. He's taking care of his kids. Number four, if my ex gets her life back on track and is able to move closer to us, I'm all for it. If she does the things she needs to do in order to petition for shared custody, I don't intend on fighting her for that. See? But until she does, I will not allow her anything more than the supervised visits ruled by the court. I will not ask for any other court-ordered child support. We won't need it. Oh yeah, by the way, she's supposed to pay him child support. You want to talk about, I'd like to know what miraculous court this is that immediately awarded him sole custody, then allowed him to move out of state, and having her pay him child support. But notice, she ain't paying the child support, and he's not giving her a hard time about it, which he could. This guy is not a bad guy. Under the circumstances, he's making it pretty easy for her. Number five, to all the people who screamed, but she's their mother, yes, and she always will be. and I remind my sons daily that their mom loves them very much and that she wishes that she could be with them like before. I'm angry and resentful of my wife, but I work very, very hard to not let any of those feelings impact my sons and their relationship with their mom. This guy could trash her if he wanted to, but he's not, because he realized that's the boy's mother. And I think he's probably hopeful she gets her shit together so she can be there for her boys. I hope so too. But this guy, if the court said he can move on with them, okay. That says a lot in 2020 or 2022. Now for an update. This gets juicier. It says, I got a lot of people asking for an update on this situation. And since a few things have changed, I figured I would go for it. I did end up taking the new job and moved my sons. We've been settling into our new lives quite nicely over the last month, and things have been going really well for us. Awesome. My sons love the new house. They have made friends with some other kids their age in the neighborhood. My job has been going really well, and I really couldn't have hoped for things to go better than they have. I got both my sons into a great therapy program, and the three of us have been doing counseling sessions together. My boys have been adjusting amazingly well, and I'm so happy and proud how they've handled this. We've also made 2 trips back to see their mom, since she is still in the process of figuring out what she will be allowed to do in relation to her probation. Their lives are a lot better, and he's still making sure they talk to their mom. Okay. We've also been doing many online video calls a week with her. My sons still don't understand why their mom isn't here with us, but they do seem to grasp that this is going to be the new normal. Again, the kids are like 3 and 5 years old, or maybe they're like 4 and 6 now that they're a little older. They're still little kids. In comparison with how well myself and my sons are adjusting, my ex is the complete opposite. Shocker. She is still very angry with me and thinks I'm a complete a-hole. Yeah, because it's this guy's fault, not hers. Needs she be reminded about what caused this whole problem? She's frustrated with the process of going through the courts to be allowed to move. She's frustrated that I'm not willing to drive our sons back to see her as often as she'd like. She feels she is being marginalized in their lives, and I'm pulling them away from her. When she was complaining about all this during our last visit, I reminded her of all those things that are consequences of her own actions. And she blew up at me by saying I'm kicking her when she's down, and I didn't need to take her sons away from her. He's doing it for a better life because you ruined the family. He's not kicking her when she's down, but people always like to say that. I told her how well our sons are doing and how happy they are, and she should be very proud of how strong and resilient they've been. Trust me, it's all about her, not about them. She then started begging me to please move back so she can be closer because she's not sure the courts will allow her to move and the process is taking too long. I told her that wasn't going to happen, but if there is anything I can do with the court process, that I would be willing to do if I can. Well, again, this shows this guy's a good guy. I would do that on the basis that she's showing real improvement on multiple fronts. Meetings and therapists and other stuff, figuring out what the hell's wrong with her. Because if she has like a spending problem or whatever, if there actually is a genuine problem, that's not making excuses for her, that she's taking action to move past that, if you will. I reminded her that I haven't said anything about her not paying the court-ordered child support, but that our boys seem to be in a much better place already, and I'm not going to take that away from them. This guy could really make things difficult for her if she's not paying child support. Every time we have a video call with her, as soon as she says goodbye to her son, she starts asking me to consider moving back home. I tell her every time that is not happening. I'm not a robot, and I do feel bad to see her so desperate and distraught. But when I look at my sons playing and laughing with their new friends, I know I've done the right thing no matter the cost to my ex. I wholeheartedly agree with this guy's actions. He's not the a-hole. He's in a tough spot. Again, who brought this on? Her. Okay? And yeah, maybe she really loves her kids and all that, and who the hell knows what's going on in that head of hers. But regardless, what's done is done. The only thing she should do right now is focus on getting her shit together. Demonstrating to him in the courts that she's, if you would want to call this, rehabilitated, if that's possible. And I would use the kids as motivation for her to get her life together. I think that's what they often use for people that are doing time or on probation or afterwards. Think of the kids, think of the family. Use that as motivation to get your life together. Will she? Who knows? But instead she's doing the waterworks and making him out to be the bad guy. Now real quick, I'm going to read some comments here before I wrap this up to show I'm not alone in this. One guy says here, I love it if people stop acting like financial crimes are somehow excusable. She still has shitty character and everything that goes into being of low moral values, and obviously she has some things to deal with. She'll easily pass that on to her kids, not to mention the turmoil and trauma that occurs being raised by someone like that, and the inevitable constant drama that comes with them. Those kids are better off without her until she has proven a track record of not being an absolute shit person who takes advantage of the people closest to her. Stop downplaying it, not the a-hole. Exactly. Remember, she's the one that stole his mother's personal information to open up credit cards to buy a bunch of bullshit. Another guy says, keep in mind that she's not paying child support as ordered and isn't providing any care for the kids since she's been basically found unfit. So I think the OP needs to get a better job. Is casually related to her crimes and failure to support her children. Not saying whether he should do it, but I think she lacks standing to complain. Another guy says, what? You want homeboy just to stay put when he can provide better for his babies? F no. Original poster, if you're reading this, you better effing move. Ever since you became a dad, your number one job is providing the best life you can to your kids. Don't let your ex-wife F up the mess with that. Amen. Another one. This mom is a felon. She'd be a bad influence considering what she was willing to do with her own mother-in-law. OP should make sure she hasn't taken credit out in her children's names either, since that's something that has happened in other subs before. Anyway, and the last one, this is from a woman. She says, I'm a mom, and you're the a-hole sick of me. The mom didn't make a mistake or a one-time bad decision. She's not a good mom. She knowingly, ongoingly committed a major crime against her own mother-in-law, a crime that directly affected her kids. Her willingness to do this with no remorse shows her character. A good mom doesn't choose clothes, makeup, and toys over her children. They just don't. Amen. So there you go. The whole thing about women and accountability. So these things I talk about a lot of times with the whole accountability thing, and it's not my fault, it's your fault. Perfect example there. So hopefully that everything works out for this family. Well, they're not a family anymore, if you know what I mean. But this guy's not the a-hole. Who knows if we'll see this or not, but he's doing the best thing he can for his boys. End of story. And he is definitely going way above the call of duty to make things easy for her with the boys. He can make things way more difficult. One phone call to his lawyer saying she's not paying the child support, and you can see where that would go. And if the situation was reversed, think about this. The situation was reversed, and it was the guy that was doing credit card fraud and did time and all that. Do you think the wife would be so merciful with him? Hell no. And if he wasn't paying the child support, do you think that she'd be so merciful with him? Hell no. So she's getting it pretty easy. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.